here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's defense ministry says China has deployed its largest Navy fleet in the region in 3 decades, posing a greater threat to Taiwan than previous Chinese drills around the country. It comes amid a spike in Chinese military activity in the area as Beijing seeks to expand its Indo-Pacific presence. Our reporter Jaime Ocon has been following this developing story and joins us live in Taipei. Jaime, what are you hearing from the defense ministry?
Well, first off, the ministry has not labeled this record increase in Chinese military activity as an exercise, and that's because China hasn't given an official announcement. Why China hasn't said anything or any announcement is still a big question that we don't know the answer to. But according to Taiwan, these military movements started on Monday when China announced 7 reserve zones in eastern Zhejiang and Fujian province. Those military movements should go on until Wednesday. Now, this morning, Taiwan's defense ministry reported 47 Chinese military aircraft in the region, as well as 21 naval and official ships. These are vessels like China's Coast Guard also operating in the region. Taiwan's military also added that China has deployed its biggest fleet in almost 3 decades within the first island chain, and this spans from southern Japan all the way down to, it wraps around Vietnam. And that's one of the main reasons why Taiwan's intelligence officials told us at a press conference that these suspected drills aren't just limited to Taiwan, but are also affecting other countries in the region.
这一次的规模，相较于过去以往的历次的针对性军演，比较大的不同的内容当然有很多。不过我们看到他们近期的这个活动，的的确确不仅仅针对台湾造成了这个军事上面的压迫之外，想要尝试做这个全面封控之外，另外一个也借由他们的这个兵力向外延伸，所展现出来的，他们企图想要达到一个区域拒止的这样子的一个目的。
Now, earlier this year, China conducted its largest military exercises called Joint Sword A and Joint Sword B. Both of those exercises simulated a partial blockade of the country. And some military officials here in Taiwan are a bit concerned that, given the frequency and how big these exercises are, that one day, one of these drills could turn into a real-life military operation. And so for now, Taiwan's military is conducting its own exercises to test its reaction speed. And what that looks like is deploying its own warships, its own fighter jets and air defense systems to see if it can get its units into position quickly in the event of a potential conflict.
Thank you, Jaime. That was Jaime Ocon live for us in Taipei. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says his country would provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself should China attack.
We've said all along that in accordance with the Taiwan Relations Act and our commitment is that we will continue to help Taiwan obtain the ability or the capability that it needs to be able to defend itself. We don't want to see any kind of unilateral change to the status quo in the Taiwan Strait.
Austin spoke at a U.S. naval base in Japan during what is likely his final official trip to the Indo-Pacific before leaving office. He warned about China's potential to spur shifts in the international order and reaffirmed the U.S.'s commitment to maintaining stability in the region. Israel launched a number of attacks on military targets in Syria overnight as opposition leaders look to form a government following the fall of President Bashar al-Assad. As Rick Glowert reports, the rapid change in the balance of power raises big questions for world leaders.
Just 2 days after Syria's leader Bashar al-Assad fled his country, Syrian refugees in Turkey crowd the border, eager to return home. It's a long wait to cross, but many here had been waiting much, much longer for the fall of Assad's regime.
هذا كان حلم. كان حلم. صرنا 50 سنة 60 سنة تحت الظلم يعني. كان حكمنا الحنزير. ايوه. الحمد لله ان شاء الله نتأمل مع الله انه يرجع الامل مثل ما كان الامن والامان ترجع سوريا مثل ما كانت ونعملها.
Assad inherited his father's tyrannical regime and was president for more than 2 decades. For the last 13 years, he had waged a brutal civil war against opposition forces with the help of Russia and Iran. But with those international allies dealing with their own conflicts, a rebel coalition called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, led a lightning campaign that toppled the regime in less than 2 weeks. Now these rebels are forming a transitional government with the remnants of Assad's regime.
بس يعني الحمد لله حسنا نعمل فيها شيء كثير كبير خلال الفترة الماضية. فراح تشوف في خبرات يعني ما انه القضية هي ما صفر يعني. ففي ملفات عنده مستويات نجاح فيها عالية يعني متفاوتة يعني. مع ذلك نحن عندنا ما عندنا استغناء عن الحالة القديمة، ضروري نستفيد من وجوده.
Western leaders welcome the fall of Assad and the blow it's dealt to Iran and Russia. But they are now unsure on how to approach a new government led by HTS. The group has a radical Islamist background, linked to the Islamic State or ISIS, and are labelled a terrorist organisation by the United States.
Presents a historic opportunity, but it also carries considerable risks. History shows how quickly moments of promise can descend into conflict and violence. ISIS will try to use this period to re-establish its capabilities.
Concerned about a neighbour now in flux, US-backed Israel launched hundreds of strikes on Syrian targets overnight, saying they don't want weapons to fall into the wrong hands. In the Syrian capital Damascus, jubilation over Assad's rapid fall is now turning into tentative relief that the fighting might now be over. But the shift in power here brings new uncertainties to a region that is already on a knife edge. Wong and Rick Laut for TaiwanPlus.
The suspect in the shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson has been charged in New York with second-degree murder following a nearly week-long manhunt. 26-year-old Luigi Mangione was detained in a McDonald's in Pennsylvania after an employee alerted police. He is believed to be the gunman who fatally shot Thompson in New York City last week. Mangione was carrying an untraceable firearm and clothing that resembled the killer's, along with a handwritten manifesto that mentioned grievances with the U.S. healthcare system. He is also facing gun and false ID charges. Labor Minister Hong Shen-han is under growing pressure as he starts his third week at the helm of a scandal-hit ministry. As activists go on a hunger strike to push for labor policy changes, lawmakers are asking tough questions. John Van Trieste reports.
An activist wears a cardboard cutout of Labor Minister Hong Son-han's face at a protest outside the Labor Ministry. It's just over 2 weeks since Hong quit the legislature to take up the post, and there's been little time to adjust to the role. Hong knows all about protests. He was a seasoned activist before getting his start in politics. Now he's the face of the government, and the labor movement has a whole range of expectations for him. Here, they're spelling them out and announcing a 100-hour hunger strike to pile on the pressure.
国定假日的修法，它的表态是什么？还有包含我们劳动政策，劳基法已经40年了，明年也要针对劳退新制的20年。但是对于这项重大的劳动问题，我们劳动部长似乎就避而不谈。
And alongside long-running demands like restoring national holidays cut from the calendar are new issues. First, they say the ministry has misused a fund meant to help with employment to cover frivolous expenses. Then there's the scandal that took down Hong's predecessor and got him the job. It's been just a month since a labor ministry employee died by suicide after severe workplace bullying. This has blown the lid on other claims of bullying at government agencies. And the pressure is on for Hong to do something. Hong's not just facing pressure from the streets either. He's given a progress report to the legislature's Health and Welfare Committee, and lawmakers across party lines had some questions for him about the same issues.
比如说增加国定假日等等，希望借由绝食让你听到他们的声音。你现在初步有想要利用这样子的场合回应吗？
我自己也认为，就按基金整体的管理，要朝向更监理化的方向来做检讨跟调整。
那职场霸凌，如果不敢去申诉的，最后你还是不会得到讯息。
我们会更强调，或更从这个无薪公务员到底他在生前他经历了什么，他遭遇了什么，重新检视跟还原。
Hong has promised progress on the bullying scandal, with the re-examination set to wrap up this week and a new legal system for reporting bullying to follow. But even if he can pull the ministry out of that quagmire, he must still convince the public and lawmakers that he was the right choice for his job. And with a range of other expectations on him, that may prove difficult. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A popular type of jumbo squid has virtually disappeared from Peru's shores, and local fishers are pointing to the country's top trade partner, China. Harel Hughes reports from Peru.
Como se dice, del mar a la olla y de la a la casa.
Yolanda has been working in this fish market for over 5 decades, selling the catch of the day from local fishermen to Lima's residents. But a once affordable and abundant Peruvian specialty has now all but disappeared from her stand, a type of jumbo squid called pota. And she blames the hundreds of Chinese fishing ships trawling off the coast of Peru.
Antes la pota costaba 50 céntimos el kilo, después subió a un sol 50, después 2 soles, y ya cuando vinieron ya los chinos ya han depravado prácticamente la pota, ¿no? Y se lo han llevado.
801, Wang 801. Este es un buque de la Prefectura Naval Argentina. Detenga sus máquinas. Detenga sus máquinas.
Foreign fishing fleets have been encroaching South America for the past 2 decades, following the migratory jumbo squid that travels up and down the western coast. This year has seen the most ships on record, with China at the lead, and their effect on the industry has been devastating.
Entonces acá la distingue a la pota porque agarra chiquita, mediana, grande, entonces no la deja ni reproducirse. Nosotros sí tenemos el criterio de dejar que ese animal se reproduzca, pues, ¿no? Hay temporadas que la dejamos descansar porque nos vamos a hacer otras faenas.
In the past year, an estimated 700 industrial-sized Chinese ships have been spotted off Peru's coast, using bright lights to attract the squid at night, hauling in some 500,000 tons annually, leaving little for Peru's fishers. China has the largest overseas fishing fleet in the world, and Peru's smaller fishing communities use boats like these that just can't keep up. China's fleet has been tracked to just 200 nautical miles off the coast of Peru, sitting just outside the country's international waters. To address the problem, Peru's government has asked the international fleets to use location tracking. But according to a local NGO that tracks these fleets via nocturnal satellite imagery, they've seen China's fishing ships on the maritime border do the opposite.
Entonces lo que es muy curioso es como que un barco está pescando en la mía, así, en la mía 201, justo en el límite, está pescando y desaparece por 20 horas y luego aparece por aquí y sale así, una línea. Y es muy curioso ese tipo de patrones.
But the accusations against China's overseas fleet are more than just illegal fishing. Many cases of abuse have been documented aboard the vessels, including dire living conditions for workers, confiscated passports, debt-trapping contracts, and physical beatings.
The vessels are dark places. The sort of 1,000-mile stay are the sort of indicators of extended stays in solitary confinement. You know, the sort of paleness and unhealthiness of the men's physique and their skin tone and their teeth just shows, but just also their demeanor shows that they're crushed.
Peru estimates this year's catch of pota will be less than half their usual, a devastating blow to a once thriving industry and the local fishers who depend on it for their survival. They fear that without action, pota could disappear from Peru's waters for good. Scott Wong and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, as this year's Nobel Prize ceremony gets underway, we leave you with these light displays in Stockholm inspired by previous winners. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.